On this channel, we explored insanely shaped train lines, like two train lines that have a loop inside of them, or U-shaped lines, or a train line that looks like a compass, or train lines that look like every combination of different degrees of weird. But the world has even more crazy train lines, and those videos are only the start. So let's take a look at even more weird train lines. The first weird train line is the Twin Ma line, and this is one of the weirdest U-shaped lines I have ever seen. You see, unlike most U-shaped lines, where the two legs mostly just go straight, the Twin Ma line has these legs that go in all sorts of directions. Like on the west, the line turns 90 degrees, then turns 90 degrees to form another U, while to the east there is this sharp bulge. So why did Hong Kong proceed to build this train line? Well, the Twin Ma line used to be two different train lines, the West Rail Line and the Ma-on-Sha Rail Line. The West Rail Line opened in 2003 and formed the west side of today's Twin Ma line. Go figure. The Ma-on-Shan Rail Line opened in 2004 and formed the eastern part of today's Twin Ma line. In the mid-2000s, the KCR, which operated both rail lines, wanted to connect them together with a rail line through Kowloon and Kai Tak. That became the Sha Tin to Central Link project. When the KCR and the MTR were merged in 2007, the MTR continued the Sha Tin to Central Link project, and that was completed in 2021 after multiple delays. But why that shape? Couldn't they just route it through Highway 8 instead if they really wanted an East Rail service, which is what the Sha Tin to Central Link was advertised as? Well, not really. The Twin Ma line was used to fulfill an earlier expansion plan called the East Kowloon line. This line was proposed in the 1960s and 70s, but never went through. Since the area where the East Kowloon line would go through is very dense, the KCR wanted to serve it. Hence the Twin Ma line went for that shape. And even when the KCR and the MTR merged, the MTR continued with the plan, as it was the cheapest way to serve that area. And that is why the Twin Ma line looks so weird. Okay, the Twin Ma line is one of the weirdest U-shaped lines in the system, but the next train line doesn't look as weird as the Twin Ma line, but does have a pretty weird characteristic. It is the Paris Metro Line 10, and it looks okay until you get to the western portion of the line, where you have this split between the east and westbound trains. In this split, there are separate stations for both eastbound and westbound trains. And if you got on a wrong train on this section, you cannot switch trains until the tracks rejoin at either Javel André Citroën or Boulogne-Durès. So why does this split exist? Well, there is a church, and the foundation for the church is pretty close to the tunnels. If the tunnels were big enough for two tracks, then the foundation would be threatened. This is why Paris Metro Line 10 was built that way, or rather why Paris Metro Line 8 was built that way. Line 8 used to serve this section before it was transferred to Line 10 in 1937. And yes, Line 10 has a pretty complicated history, with it changing routes many times over the years. Okay, so Paris Line 10 is sort of like a break from the weird train lines. Sure, there's this very odd routing, but Line 10 really isn't that weird. Well, let's kick things up in the high gears and present the next train line, Barcelona Line 4. I already talked about Barcelona's Lines 9 and 10, but Barcelona really has a lot of weird train lines. So let's talk about another one, Line 4. Remember how I talked about New York City's N train and how that was just an incomplete loop? Well, Line 4 is a more extreme example of it. One end is just 1.5 miles away from the other leg, which is about 40% shorter than the two ends of the M train in New York City. What makes it even more crazy is that one of the ends will be extended to La Sagrera Meridiana, which is just half a mile of hitting the other leg. So why is it built this way? Well, Line 4 was supposed to be built as a circle, with a branch, but that was cancelled in the mid-1970s because of rising costs. Now that Line 4 is being extended to La Sagrera Meridiana, it would make more sense just to have Line 4 extend past La Sagrera and end up back on its northern leg, thus finishing the loop, right? Well, not quite, because Line 5 is in the way. This will mean that extending Line 4 would be pretty hard. Also, a water table is in the area, making any alternative alignment pretty hard to build. So planners thought that it would be a better idea to end Line 4 at La Sagrera Meridiana and let Line 5 pick up the slack. Though I am not completely sure if this is the correct reasoning. So if anyone in the comments could tell me a better reason, then go right ahead. Okay, so Barcelona Line 4 looks pretty awful, but it still gets the job done. Well, the next train line, I don't know if it gets the job done because the route of this train line is all over the place. It is the Alishan Forest Railway in Taiwan, and at 53 miles long, it is as long as your typical railway. But that is where the ordinary ends. The first weird part starts where the railway twists and turns pretty sharply in very random places. And if that is not weird for you because you ride the Northeast Corridor a lot, we have these reverse stubs, where the train goes onto a section, then reverses out of a different section to complete its journey. And if you think those reverse stubs are weird, well, that is not even the weirdest part. The weirdest part has to be the loop near Alishan Station. And I kind of lied when I say a loop because we got not one, not two, not three, but 4 loops that overlap with one another. Huh? I tried tracing the route of these loops and this is as close as I can get. Here is a map of the real loops, which goes to show how complex this train line is. This train line makes even Naples Metro Line 1 look tame and the Singapore Downtown Line ordinary. This was probably designed by some toddler who scribbled something in crayon, and then the engineer thought that it would be a great idea to build that in the shape of a train line. Actually, there is a reason for these insane loops and twisting and turning. It is in the name, Alishan Forest Railway. The key word is shang, or mountain in Chinese. And with a mountain, there are steep elevation changes, which is why trains twist and turn a lot and why we have this loop, for the trains to go further up at a safer slope. The final train line in this video is the Wenshan line in Taipei. The Wenshan line is a C-shaped line except when you look to the east and see this insane bulge. Like, this is a mad sharp turn. It is like, let's go straight, and whoops, here's a 270-degree turn. Hope you like the sound of steel grinding on steel. So why did Taipei design a line with a curve so sharp just to serve one station slightly east? Well, that station is the airport, and Taipei wanted some rail service to its airport. So when they extend the Wenshan line, then the Muzhua line on this alignment so that trains can stop at the airport before heading northeast. So this is it. 5 train lines that look really weird. And by now, if I had to pick between the 15 or 16 train lines that I featured in this series, which one will look the weirdest, it has to be the Alishan Forest Railway. Those twists and turns, reverse stubs, and that quad loop are on another level of weird than the next contender. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and if you want me to feature even more train lines, comment below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.